Hi, my name is Stephanie, and I interviewed 3 of my African American friends on the issue of racism, and particularly the issue of racism in regards to information that can help people who are not Black. Before I start sharing their responses, I do want to say that I am white, and this is not me trying to speak for my friends. I will be reading 2 of the responses from my own mouth. I did give all of my friends the option to share a video explaining their own responses, but I understand that not everyone wants to be on camera, so I will be reading 2 of them, but those are not my own words, just as a disclaimer. So I did provide some base questions for the interview, but I'm just going to read the responses as I would just reading anything, because I think they can stand without knowing the questions. So the first one comes from my friend Jamila, and she said, I'm reading this from my phone, so, "A time I experienced racism was when a teacher continuously said the N-word, both hard ER and A, in class while I was in the front row, then continued to invite other white students to say the word. The first time I experienced racism was when I was in kindergarten. I firstly want non-Blacks to educate themselves on racism and why it exists. Next, I would want them to call out the situation and tell why what happened or what was said was unacceptable. It's very insulting for any backlash to be made about the situation that's not on the side of helping Black people. It's also very tiring to have to keep trying to educate and remind people what we as Blacks go through in America and why things like our current situation are alerting. I want to say that you do not need to be Black to support the hashtag Black Lives Matter movement. Also, the only way where racism will diminish is if those who are unaffected, specifically white people, take action and do what's right to make sure we all have equal rights in this country." The next response comes from my friend Zari, and I'll be reading that as well. "As a light-skinned African American, I sometimes get the question, how Black are you? It shouldn't matter how Black I am. At the end of the day, I'm still Black. It's so annoying. One of the first times I've experienced racism is when someone asked me if they could touch my hair. Just because it's curly doesn't mean you get to touch me like I'm at a petting zoo, you know? That's a reason why I put my hair in buns and ponytails so much. I used to flat iron my hair a lot too. When anything major happens racism-wise, speak up. Whether it's saying/posting that Black Lives Matter, sending out donation links, or educating yourself, it is better to do something that's helpful rather than not say or do anything at all. When situations like this happen, I'm upset. Even when situations like this don't happen, I'm upset. Because I know that somewhere a person of color is being killed for something they didn't do, whether it's recorded and shown to the public or not. I'm constantly living in fear that one day I'll be next. And I don't want to live in fear. I don't want my siblings who are 1, 4, 8, 12, and 15 years old to live in fear. I don't want any person of color to live in fear or end up dying a tragic death when they do not deserve to die whatsoever. My final words. Change needs to happen. Change is needed to happen for years, for decades, for literal centuries. We as a society must do better." And now I will insert the video response from my friend Karanja.
Hi, my name's Karanja Anderson, and with all that's going on in the U.S. right now, considering the protests, the inhumane violence that's happening towards the African American community, I think it's important to acknowledge not only the strength that the African American community has for each other, but the support from other races as well. I feel like that's the key to solving or starting change, because obviously we're not going to solve it overnight, but I feel like that's a crucial stepping stone in getting change that we want and long-lasting effects.
Just again as a disclaimer, none of those words are mine, except for the ones that weren't. You know what I'm trying to say. Also, if I sound a little less enthusiastic than I usually do in these videos, it's because I just woke up and needed to film this video. So now I'm going to go through just a list of some resources that I found, both that you can donate to or just good resources to follow, petitions to sign, that I think are helpful for the movement. Also, before I say that, sorry if this is a little jumbled and all over the place. This is not me trying to look like I'm doing the right thing just by reading what my friends have said. I do have a statement that I'm working on that I will be posting as a white person in America, but I need to work on it a little bit more, and I didn't want to wait any longer to get this video up. So, hi, I'm editing this video, and I just wanted to clarify that since I made this list, some of the organizations and foundations have halted asking for donations because they've received such an enormous amount of help. I'm not going to explicitly say which ones because it could change between now and the time that this video goes up. And I'll still be linking them all in the description because they're all good to follow, even if you're not donating to them. But double check what resource you're donating to, if they're still accepting donations. Okay, thank you, bye. Okay, so I'm gonna try to put links to all of these in the description. If I forget one, let me know. Also, a lot of them are coming from the website It's Nice That, which is where I found a lot of them. So I'll link that description. I'll link that website in the description. Because there were a couple in there that I just couldn't find enough information about that I didn't include in here, but I assume that if they're in there, which looks like a good resource, then they're probably worth looking into. I just couldn't find enough information myself. So first of all, we have Black Lives Matter, which is the movement itself, and you can donate to that or just look at it. It's a valuable resource. We have the Bail Project, which helps bail unnecessarily arrested protesters or just anyone who's been jailed and needs to be bailed out. So you can donate to that organization as well. The Liberty Fund, which is another bail-based organization. I also think it's based in New York, so if that changes any of your mindset, you can donate to that. Reclaim the Block, which helps Minneapolis specifically gain violence prevention, housing, emergency, mental health response teams, help on the opioid crisis, etc. I Run with Maud, which is a GoFundMe started by Ahmaud Arbery's best friend. The money goes to his mother and getting justice for his murder. The Campaign Zero is to change the police system. What does that say? Reprioritize what crimes have what consequence. Put body cams, training, etc. Also data and research. Also, I'm reading this from I wrote everything down, so if I'm pausing, it's because I can't read what I wrote. Unicorn Riot is a media alternative, which focuses on providing primary source reporting, so that helps with understanding what exactly is going on in the protests and also just the world in general when it comes to racism and other similar things. The American Civil Liberties Union has been around for over 100 years and helps with nearly every civil liberties battle. Also, I stopped writing what ones you can donate to. I think the majority of them right now are you can donate, but I'm not 100% sure. Stand Up to Racism UK, I honestly don't know that much about it, but it does look worth looking into. It's an anti-racism group, and they coordinate initiatives in the UK, so if you're UK based, there you go. Now we're moving on to petitions. So there are petitions for George Floyd. As of the time I'm filming this video, I think all of the cops involved in the murder have been arrested, but I mean, it's still good to sign the petition to just show that people are still mad about it. The petition for Breonna Taylor, I think none of the cops involved in her murder have been arrested. And Ahmaud Arbery, I'm not actually sure what the status is on that one, but again, signing petitions is still helpful. Okay, actually this one, I'm not gonna give, this one I've seen conflicting information on since I've made this list, so I'm not gonna talk about it, just because I don't know enough about it right now. Okay. The next ones are organizations, I think. Yeah, so these are organizations. You might be able to donate to some of them, but these are ones that I've just found that are more organization-based, just good to get information and follow. There's hashtag Emerald Black. Oh, wait, just kidding. So another just person, another racial injustice that's happened is with hashtag Emerald Black, and I can't find a petition for it, so if anyone has a petition, please let me know, because I've been looking for it. But it's the woman who was pulled from her car, and the cops stomped on her stomach, and she had a miscarriage, during a protest, I believe. There's also David McAtee, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, who was unarmed, killed, and the cops had body cameras off, or they either had their body cameras off or were not wearing them, which is a violation of LMPD policy. I'm not sure if there's a petition. I will look for one, and if there is one, I'll link it in the description. Okay, so now moving on to more organizations where I'm not sure if you can donate necessarily, but they are good to follow, and they're mostly based on social media, I think. So, we have Entry Level Artist, which teaches about basic activism, and I did not write down where that is, but I want to say it's on Instagram. Then there's Gal Dem, which is an online and print publication, which provides the perspectives of women and non-binary people of color, and that's on Twitter. These will also be in the description. There's Color of Change, which forms campaigns to... what does that say? It forms campaigns to... There's Color of Change, which forms campaigns to end racist practices. That's on Instagram. There's the Equal Justice Initiative, which works to end mass incarceration, excessive punishment, and racial inequality, which I think is on Twitter, but I'm not 100% sure. It'll be in the description. There's We the Urban, which perpetuates inclusivity, self-love, and takes into account the horror of the world while still being a pick-me-up. That's on Instagram. There is... I can't really read this name, so I think it says Mauve Bergdorf. I'm sorry if that's incorrect. Who is UK-based. I also honestly don't know that much, but they are an activist and editor on Instagram. I'm sorry, I don't know their pronouns. There's... I can't read the names. There's Mona I'm looking it up. Mona Shalaby, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it, who is an activist. Her page provides, I'm sorry, I don't know the pronouns either. They provide good information on Instagram. And then there's Inquest, which provides support for state-related deaths. That's on Twitter. There is S. Lee Merritt, sorry if I'm pronouncing any of these names wrong, who is a civil rights lawyer on Instagram. So if you're in need of a lawyer, there's one that I found. There's No White Saviors, which talks about white supremacy, and again, I honestly don't know that much about this organization, but it talks about the idea that no white saviors, or the concept of white saviors. I'm having trouble talking today. The idea that no white saviors helps white people understand that we're not meant to save the African American community, but we're meant to help them. There's Layla F. Said, I think that says, who is an activist. She's an activist, she's an author, and she has a podcast, so that's on Instagram. So if you're interested in books and podcasts, looking into her would be a good idea. There's Rachel Elizabeth Cargill, I think that says, who's an activist. There's really good info for everyone on her Instagram page, regardless of race. There's Check Your Privilege. Now we're moving back into... No, just kidding. We're still on organizations that you can follow on social media. Check Your Privilege, which helps systems that are inherently racist. I'm not sure what that says, but they also have a podcast and a book that's on Instagram. There's Rachel Riches, I'm sorry, who is an activist. Her page is pretty uplifting on Instagram. There's The Great Unlearn, which is a monthly I was writing this so fast. Okay, there's The Great Unlearn, which is a monthly self-paced syllabi on how to unlearn, and it's made by Rachel Cargill. That is also on Instagram. There's Ibram X. Kuda, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce their name, who is the author of How to Be an Anti-Racist. Their Instagram page also has very good information. And now there are some other organizations that I found that aren't necessarily on social media. I mean, they might be, I didn't look, I'm sorry, but more like foundations. So there's BEAM, which is the Black Emotional and Mental Health Collective, which emotionally helps the Black community during these trying times when we are just surrounded by the idea of racism, which the Black community is constantly surrounded by the idea of racism because those are the people that they're being racist to. Those are the people that people are being racist to. There is the National Queer and Trans Therapists of Color Network, which is similar to BEAM. So there's Showing Up for Racial Justice, which is designed for white people to fight white supremacy. And inside that organization, there is another organization entitled White People for Black Lives. And then the NAACP Legal Defense and Education Fund is a nonprofit which is meant to change the And then the NAACP Legal Defense and Education Fund is a nonprofit meant to help change the judicial system. And then there are also multiple YouTube videos, which I'm sure everyone's heard of at this point, but for people who don't have any money, because I know probably most of the people watching this are my friends who are teenagers and don't have jobs or don't make that much money, so it's hard to donate. So there are the YouTube videos that I'm looking for right now, where if you just watch them through and let the ads play through, all of the ad revenue will donate to charities designed to help the Black Lives Matter movement. I know there's a lot of them, but I think the most popular one is Zoe Amira's, which I will link in the description, which is entitled How to Financially Help Black Lives Matter with No Money / Leaving Your House, Invest in the Future for Free. Also, the link for the website It's Nice That has a lot of books on there, which I'm not promoting individually because I honestly haven't read them, and so I don't want to promote something that I haven't really been able to look into. But if you do want reading material centered around the movement, then there's some what I've heard to be good reading material there, and I intend to read some of it too. Thank you for watching. I hope that this was beneficial to you, or just solidified thoughts that you already had, or you gained something from it. Regardless, thank you, and I hope that our country can do better moving forward.